So we're going to start right at the top of 6, but I'm going to actually turn to your front calendar. And I'd like you to throw some dates on here just because we are not going to do this whole unit until when you return from midterms. So what is today's date? I am thinking 13th? 12th? Okay. Thank you. A certain point, right? So we're going to do this one. We're going to do lesson 7. And then we're going to stop here. And then I'll do this. Now go squiggly. And then we'll kind of break for your midterm review at that point right there. Scientific notation is really easy. That's just calculator work and then a little bit of exponent practice. Okay? So we'll resume that material when you return after midterms. I'll just say after midterms. Okay. So we're going to begin. We're going to look at just the rules for exponents. So I listed them all out in your notes. I'm going to have you just add a little bit of verbal description to each one so that you can remember what you're doing for those. So your first property of exponents is when you're going to use multiplication and your base will be the same. So what you're going to do with multiplication is you're going to add the exponents. So multiplication means we're going to add the exponents. So multiplication means add exponents. A lot of these will be very quick. You don't really have to show a ton of work until you get to the ones that have the negative exponents. Your next exponent rule is what we call a power rule. And this means it is a power raised to another power. And in this case, what you're going to do is multiply the exponents. So this rule is to multiply the exponents instead. Again, that is what we call the power rule, if you want a name for it. So it's a power raised up to another power. In the next case, when you have parentheses around that whole expression there, what you want to remember to do is distribute. So I'm just going to write next to this one to distribute. It's nice and simple for you. So distribute that exponent. Next for you, division. What you're going to do for division is subtract your exponents. So I'm going to say division here. So again, you have these written out in words too. Means that you're going to take your exponents and you're going to subtract them. So division means to subtract exponents. And then your next case. And you've seen this before. So this deals with negative exponents. So over to the side here, I'm going to write that negative exponents flip. So negative exponents are going to flip. So it works either way. So if it is positive on the bottom and you want to move it to the top, you make it negative. And next to this, let's put in, say you have x to the negative a, and you want to work with it. What you're going to do is just take it and flip it to the bottom, make it positive. Okay. So again, you can flip directions just like that. Anytime you flip it, you're going to change your sign. Our next rule is again just a simple distribute your exponents. So just kind of write distribute next to this one. So you want to make it goes sure it goes to top and bottom. So this one just write distribute. And lastly, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So this is just a rule for 0 power. So anything raised up to the 0, no matter how complicated, is just equal to 1. Okay. So your first couple examples, you're going to work with these rules and you're going to rewrite each expression in the form k times x to the n. Your answers are going to look like this when you're all said and done. So just no fractions. So letter A, you're going to take these. You're going to take the constants in the front and just multiply them as you normally would. So this just gives me negative 15. And then you're going to take the x. And then what do you suppose we're going to do with those exponents for multiplication? Add them, good. So this is just raised to the 7th. Again, for that one, I really don't need you to write any work. If you'd like to, you could write add exponents. Again, it's not necessary, only if you want to. So let's see, my first property is I'm going to take the bottom and distribute that 4. So this one I want you to rewrite. So we're going to go 3x raised to the 5th power, and you're going to divide this. You're going to take your 4 and you're going to distribute it to the 2 and to the x. So this becomes 2 raised to the 4th power and x raised to the 4th power. Then you pick up your calculator and you type in 2 raised to the 4th. Or maybe you guys know that one. I don't know, I guess you won't do a ton with it. So 16, and then this is x to the 4th. Now you have to do one more step. So those x's use division. So what are you going to do with your exponents? Subtract. Good. So I do 3 over 16. So there's nothing more I can do with that. And then I'm going to take my exponents and subtract them. So 5 minus the 4 gives me just x on the top. Or if you'd like to rewrite it, x to the first, that's fine too. All right, so letter C. So letter C, I want to take this and flip it around once I distribute it. So I'm going to kind of recopy. I have 3 divided by, and I'm going to distribute this like that. So I have x raised up to the negative 6. And then I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to just flip it. So this becomes a 3. And then this whole expression goes to the top now and becomes positive. Done. So your negative exponents are going to flip. So letter D, I'm going to treat this term by term. When I see negative exponents in a problem that has multiple x's, I like to sometimes start by doing this. So often you can approach these a couple different ways. So it's up to you guys if you kind of make the call. You could take this x to the 3rd and flip it to the bottom and make it positive. Or what could you do with these two to avoid that? Yeah, add them together. So instead you could just do this. And then this is x to the 8th. I'm going to place a 1 on this just in case it's helpful. And then you're going to continue further. Now you've changed this into division, which means you need to subtract your exponents. So this would be equal to x raised up. 1 minus 8 would give me negative 7. And there's nothing in your question that says you can't leave it negative. So for right now, you're good. You can leave that answer just like that. Skipping down to your next section, this one says you can only write these with positives. So we're going to do the same properties. You're just going to make sure you flip them if necessary. So number 1, I'm going to take the coefficients in the front and multiply them. This just has a 1 here. So 2 times 1 is just 2. And then add your exponents to get 15. You agree that one's pretty easy? Again, no necessary work that you have to write there. Letter B, you want to be careful with this. You have x to the negative 8. It is not obviously a positive exponent, so you're going to flip it, but the 3 needs to stay where it is. So I have 1 over the 3. And the only part that comes up is just the x to the 8. And then that's it. That's as far as that one can go, but just make sure you don't pull the 3 up with the x. Number 2 is similar. Again, you're going to flip these. So I'm going to begin. I like to draw my line first. The 6 is going to just stay where it is. X to the negative 5th goes to the bottom somewhere and it becomes positive. And then x to the negative 3rd goes to the top and becomes positive. Okay, so that's one way that you could start that. Now you're going to keep going and you're going to subtract your exponents. So this is going to give me 6x, and 3 minus 5 gives me -2. And in this section, you are not allowed to leave the negative exponents. So you have to go further this time. So you're going to take this and you're going to write 6, and you're going to flip the x to the bottom and make your exponent positive. How do we feel on those so far? Pretty good? So letter B, you're going to take that and distribute. So if I distribute and multiply this together, it's just x raised to the 2 times n, and then times x to the 3rd. And then you're going to add the exponents, noticing that you have no like terms. So you're going to leave this as just x raised to the 2n plus 3. Okay, so done. That's as far as that one can go. Any questions on that first page? Okay, the back ones, you're still going to just combine your properties again. So same properties, no different. So number 3, the recommendation would be to take that -3 and distribute. So I'm going to distribute this one first, and then we'll flip it. So that goes there, and that goes there. So I'm going to go 3 to the -3rd, and then divided by multiply x to the 66th. Now you're going to keep going, and you're only going to move the one that has a negative exponent on it. So my 3 to the -3rd goes to the bottom and becomes 3 cubed. X to the 66 is going to stay. And what do I need to place in the numerator as a placeholder? Yeah, just a 1. So you just use your calculator and finish it out. So this is equal to 1 divided by 27x to the 66. Done. So number 4, I'm going to take these, work with them as well. There's really nothing I can do with these first 2. So if you want to, you can combine those. So I'm going to do the 2 times the 3 is 6. And then the 3 plus the 5 will give me 8. And now I'm going to take this next one and I'm going to distribute this. So the 2 goes to the 6. So 6 squared would be 36. And then x squared. Okay, so we need to find 6 times 36. So using your calculator, 6 times 36 equal to 216. You have 216, add your exponents, so x to the 10. All right, so number 5, again, you have options with these. So you don't have to necessarily all start with the same property. If you want, you can flip it, or you can add them together. I'm going to add them together because it's going to make my negative go away. So there's that. And then I have 3x to the 4th. Now I'm going to continue and I'm going to subtract my exponents. So I have here 2 minus 4. So I have x to the -2nd over 3. In this section said no negative exponents. You're going to take it and flip it this time. So I am left with 1 divided by 3x squared. All right, so my next. I have to take that -2 and I have to distribute it to both of those. So I'm going to recopy this as, so I have 3x to the 4th, and then divided by, so I'm going to have the -6 raised to the -2nd, and I'm going to have the x raised to the -2nd as well. You're going to take these and then you're going to flip them up to the top. I don't know if you're going to have anything on the bottom, but we'll draw the line just in case. So you have 3x to the 4th that was on the top. And then you have -6 raised to the second power, positive. And then you have x raised to the second power. I'll do this just so you kind of understand that everything went away from the bottom. Now you keep going. So I have here a 3x to the 4th, and then -6 times -6 would be 36, and x squared as well at the back. And then you're just going to multiply these together. So 3 times 36 is 108. And I'm left with x to the 6. So everything cleared from the bottom, and you have no negative exponents that have to be flipped. So 7, take that outside, distribute it. So I'm going to have a 5. X to the -9. Be careful with this one. It has to go to the 2 as well because it's in parentheses. So I'm going to go 2 to the -4, and then x to the -4. Again, there's many different ways you can start these and work with them. It just depends on what's easiest for you. So I'm going to leave the 5 where it is. I'm going to take my x to the -9 and add it to x to the -4 instead of flipping it. So this would be x to the -13, and we'll deal with that in a second. And then on the bottom, I'm going to go 2 to the 4th. Now you're going to evaluate. So your x to the -13 has to flip. So I get 5 divided by x to the 13, you just place on the bottom where you have some space. And then 2 to the 4th is 16. So you just leave it at that. Now, if your numbers in the front were able to be reduced, you do need to do that step. Like if this 5 was like an 8 instead, you could divide these both by 2. But that's simplest form, so you're done. Moving to 8. Again, I'm going to take this -3 and I'm going to distribute it everywhere first. To do that stuff, again, these complicated ones, you're going to want to show a little bit of work. It's too much to process in your head. This is x to the -6. This is 4 to the -3. And then this becomes x raised to the +3rd power because you multiply. Start flipping. So I have x to the -6 goes to the bottom somewhere. 4 to the -3 goes to the top and becomes 4 cubed. And that one stays where it is. Okay, so 4 cubed. So you got 4 times 4 times 4. So we have 64 divided by x to the 9. Any questions on those so far? They're pretty straightforward. Just properties. All right, your last two here. So simplify and positive exponents only. So if it doesn't say that, you can leave them negative, but if it does, you have to switch. So I'm going to take my -3 and distribute this. So I would have x to the 12th and then divided by x to the 6th. You have to always go as far as possible. So is there anything we can do with the exponents? Yeah, subtract them, good. This is just x to the 6th. All right, and then last, you have a function and you are asked to substitute 2 in for x. So every single place you see x, you're going to fill in 2. So f of 2 is equal to, we're going to go 2 raised to the -2nd plus 2 raised to the 0 plus 3 raised to the 2nd. So if you work with your exponent rules, you're going to flip the first one. So this would become a 1/2 squared. This is your 0 property. Anything to the 0 power just becomes 1. And then 3 squared is obviously just 9. Again, or you can use your calculator to do this whole thing. So this gives me 1/4 plus 10, which is just 10 1/4. Or equivalent to 10.25 if you prefer. All right, so questions, concerns on any of the exponents? Okay, if you flip over to homework, I believe there's a question or two I can omit for you. And then I want to give you a lot of time to work this week too. So on your homework, again, show as much work as you need to. Some of them are going to be really, really quick. Those are all okay. I'm looking for, yeah, letter G, you can cross that off for the time being. We'll save those more complicated ones for after midterms. So that one you can omit if you'd like to. If you want to try it, that's fine. It's still manageable. Everything else should be okay. Number 4 is positive exponents only. And number 3, all of those problems, you can have negative exponents. So when it says this, it just means that negative exponents are allowed. Okay. Yeah. So the front, you're doing all your problems, and then on the back side, you may cross off number 5. I'm sorry, it's not 5. It says G. So you may cross off letter G if you want to. If you want to try it, it's really not harder. It's just a little bit lengthy as far as all the flips you have to do. Okay. All right, so the time is yours to work on those homework problems. And definitely this week too, make sure that you're taking opportunities to get caught up.